When you're making lunch, I think that every now and then a lunch is like, you ever have like a really good lunch and you feel, I don't know, I think that lunch is one of those meals that's like, it's not a requirement, you know what I mean? It's not mandatory that you always have lunch. I think it's every now and then, maybe with some friends, or I guess if you miss breakfast and you have to have something, right? But then you call that more brunch than lunch, and it gets all messed up. But you know my point is that lunch, when you're making lunch, when you're preparing a meal in the middle of the day, there are, I guess there are some downsides that could come around if you do it that way. Like, for instance, you might get tired after you eat. You know what I mean? Like, if you eat a big meal or whatever. On the other hand, it might energize you. So it might pump you up for the rest of the day to tackle on whatever you have to do. Then on the other hand, eating all that much food in the middle of the day, you'll definitely have to use the bathroom. And you know that that kind of a thing is gonna affect you throughout the rest of the day. And I'm always kind of like the person that's like, I like to save it for at home, but if you can't avoid it, you know what I mean? If you have to do it at work, it is what it is. But you get hopefully you get my point, is that when you're making lunch, it's different than breakfast. It's different because I guess lunch is a lot more quick work. Like, you've already prepped it. Like, for school, like, if you're taking lunch to school, it's already ready. You know what I mean? Like, you pack a sandwich or whatever with like an apple and a juice or water or something like that, right? But then there's also like the cafeteria, and they're like serving you. So everything's ready to go. Everything's ready to eat. There's no prep time for it, I guess. Or there's no, whatchamacallit. Making it is quick. It's simple. It's efficient. It's like, put 2 loaves and some ham in between, and there's your sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, it's quick. It's effortless. It's not the same as breakfast. Breakfast is a more, I don't want to say intricate. I mean, it could be really quick too. You could just have a protein shake and whatnot. But for lunch, most people opt for a sandwich of some kind. I think that, here's the thing about lunch in particular. It's more of like when you have the time, I feel like. Breakfast is like, it's the first thing I'm eating for the day. It gets me ready. It fills me up with the energy that I need to do whatever it is that I got to do, whether it's work, whether it's school, whether it's a journey, a road trip, a plane travel, something. At least a cup of coffee, like something to wake you up in the morning, something to get you boosting, something to get you moving, you know what I'm saying? But who can be 100% certain what lunch does or does not do? I just feel like when you're making a meal, when you're making lunch in the middle of the day, depending on what you eat, it could make your day, it can give you the energy you need, or it could break you down and tire you out and make you like, I have to go use the bathroom, I have to take a nap, I have to like take it easy, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. I'm more on the, it'll drag me down a bit, or even if it does keep me going throughout the rest of the day, I know that come dinner time or whatnot, like on a later dinner event, I'm just not going to be as hungry, you know? I'm just not going to have I would rather snack throughout the day, you know what I mean? Snacking throughout the day, like eat, maybe have like a breakfast, like a regular breakfast, and then snack a little bit throughout the day, maybe, you know what I mean? I'm not talking like maybe a full lunch, you know, like a full lunch is like a sandwich, a water bottle or juice or something, maybe a fruit of some kind, like an apple, an orange, strawberries perhaps, you know what I mean? And maybe on the side some like potato chips or something, you know what I mean? Like, that seems like oh man, that's a lunch, you know, a full lunch. A snack is more so like you just eat an apple. You know what I mean? I guess you can consider that lunch. I don't know. And then there's so many variations to lunch, you know, it's in the middle of the day. You could really eat whatever you want to or need to. like I said earlier, there's the brunch option if you didn't have like breakfast, but you're craving that breakfast. What's it called? That breakfast style or the breakfast like gourmet. Like eggs or pancakes or whatever. Like that's what brunch is for. I guess is that you can still have a breakfast, lunch, something. You know what I mean? I don't know. So when you're making it though. I think like most people, you want to go somewhere quick, maybe. I mean, then that's not really making it. Maybe when you're making lunch, it's more so like a special event, or you're having people over at the house, or it's this or it's that, right? Like you have multiple instances of you. I guess more often than not, doing it on a special time, right? Like, let's say you and your friends or whoever, you and your family are going for a hike, right? You'll pack a lunch, you'll pack a meal of some kind, right? Something really quick, something really easy or whatever. You know what I mean? And packing it is kind of the making it aspect, and then you eat it somewhere else. I don't know, maybe when you're at home. Let's say you make lunch at home. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe middle of the day, you get a little bit hungry. You're like, you know what? I didn't really eat a lot at breakfast or whatever. So let me make like a nice sandwich, a nice turkey and ham sandwich with like lettuce, tomatoes, and whatever else you want on there. Mustard or whatever you like. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Little bits and pieces. Options like that. I'm trying to think of the right word here. I don't know what it is about lunch that feels so like not wasteful, but more so like, I don't know. I guess it really depends on your day. If you wake up at like 10 a.m. and you eat breakfast, then maybe you can skip lunch altogether. You know what I mean? Have a snack in between, like I said. But if you have it early in the morning, like if you have breakfast at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., you know what I mean? If you wake up and you like eat breakfast, and I'm not talking like a protein shake. I mean like, let's say you make pancakes for breakfast, right? You eat that. And then maybe 6 hours later around noon or maybe 7 at 1, right? You kind of are like, you know what? Let me get a little quick bite to eat, or let me make something really fast, you know? Because I feel like for the most part, if you're going to go get lunch, or I guess if you're out, you're going to get lunch and it's just going to be something really quick. You're going to buy something. That's the thing, is you're probably going to get fast food or some sort of a restaurant or a shop of some kind to like get lunch. And that's a perfectly viable option. I think it's quick, it's easy, you don't have to make anything, you don't have to cook anything, you don't have to prepare or get anything ready, but we're talking about when you're making the stuff. And when you're making your lunch, I feel like oftentimes people like to, I don't want to say splurge, but I guess if you have more food and you can eat it, I don't know, but at the same time, wouldn't you want to hold back because then you still have dinner later on? Right? Because if I eat a big breakfast, I don't in particularly need lunch because I'm still holding in the breakfast, you know what I mean? The lunch is kind of like, I don't know. This probably, when you're making lunch, right? I feel like there's so many great options. It's really you could have anything for lunch. You know what I mean? You could eat anything any part of the day, but I mean specifically like if you choose to make breakfast for lunch, nobody bats an eye. You know what I mean? If you order a steak if you order a steak for lunch, nobody's going to be like, oh, why are you eating that so late in the day? Like, if you have breakfast for dinner, people will be like, why are you eating breakfast so late in the day? Like, it's pretty late at night, you know what I mean? You don't want something else. And if you eat dinner for breakfast, everybody's kind of going to be like, that's so much, that just doesn't feel right. Like, why don't you just eat something quick or something else? Does that make sense? That's why, like, McDonald's doesn't have quarter pounders available in the morning, right? Like, you have to go through their breakfast menu first or whatever, because nobody wants to, not that nobody wants to, but like, if they offered the option to not only serve you breakfast, but like quarter pounders with cheese throughout the rest, or Big Macs throughout the rest of the day, like the whole day, it just, I guess it wouldn't work all that well, would it? But anyways, my point being, when you're making lunch, it feels like it's more of a social and special occasion. I think maybe we're conditioned that way, or we're forced to, like, I mean, forced is a bit of a strong word, but I mean, like, we've been having required lunches throughout the day since we were kids from, like, school. So it feels a little bit like it's mandatory, like, oh, and we also get a break during work, so it's kind of like, oh yeah, you get like a 30-minute or an hour-long break for lunch. Well, I guess they call it break. It's not really a lunch, but you get my point, is that you can eat something during that time, you know? Anyways, when you're making lunch, I mean, I like to make something really quick, maybe like a sandwich. I like to make instant ramen. Instant ramen works because it's just like you boil water, you pour it into the ramen, boom, ramen, right? Like it's quick, it's easy, it's warm, it's a nice little noodle soup, and I guess it all depends on what kind you get. But there's that. I mean, sandwich always goes. You know what I mean? You could have a breakfast sandwich, a regular sandwich, and a dinner sandwich. Like, it all fits together. You know what I'm saying? But you ever imagine, like, the, like, amazing restaurants with, like, the best sandwiches ever, and it's all, I'm talking about like a lunch rush. Everybody's going over to your restaurant for lunch, and you have to make it quick. Maybe let's focus on it from that perspective, from the restaurants that have to cook and make food really quick. I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say down talking, but there's a lot of, like, people don't treat it like a good job, but to those people, to the people who, like, need that kind of that lunch, those people that need you to provide for them, you're doing great work. You know what I'm saying? Service industry is no joke. And I don't know, I feel like people who make it happen for you, or are there to supply you with the nutrients that you desire or that you require, you know, they're a bit undervalued. But when you're making lunches as like a chef or as anything else, I imagine you want to make it as delicious as possible, as quick as possible, in the right order, and like make sure it goes by pretty well or easily. I do think that it's kind of weird the way that we've kind of consumed lunch or seen lunch as like maybe a concept. Like, what were they doing serving me like a pizza with, like, you know, random assorted fruits and a carton of milk? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? It was so weird. I just remember, like, avoiding all of the fruits and vegetables, all of the stuff like that. Not because I don't enjoy vegetables or fruits. It's just that it looked so nasty. And then that low budget, that low quality food, it was kind of like, it made me realize that, oh, pizza is not the same pizza everywhere. Don't get me wrong, I still ate it and I thought it was pretty good some days. Like Friday was pizza day or something like that. Very exciting. Everybody would get, I don't know. I guess it all depends, right? But I just thought that was a bit, it's kind of crazy that they did that to us. And now that we have so many options for lunch, now that we have like DoorDash and, you know, we have so many delivery options at our fingertips, it kind of doesn't make fast food or whatever you want to eat for lunch kind of like crazy anymore. You know what I mean? So if you're working from the office and you want a meatball sandwich, a meatball sub, all you have to do is DoorDash it ahead of time, wait till you break, and then you get your sandwich, you chill out all day, or you eat it right then and there, or you let it rest a little bit until you go on your break or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I guess there's kind of a, I don't know. But when you're making lunch, okay, let's focus on the making aspect. I mean, you can make it as intricate or you can make it as simple as you need to. If you just want to make a sandwich, just make a sandwich. If you want to go deeper, you know what I mean? If you're like, I know that when I go to work, I want to have like a grilled chicken with white rice and some vegetables. Like, you know, if you're meal prepping or if you're kind of in the routine of, I'm going to cook myself a full meal or something better than just bread and a sandwich. You know what I mean? Like cooking really good food. Then you can go a little bit crazier. You know what I mean? I guess when it comes to lunch, you can always like, you can make it as simple as possible, but you can also upgrade the item to like something a bit better. So what I mean by that is I could make a regular peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch. And that would be a good lunch, just between two slices of bread or whatever. You know what I mean? Or I could get like a really fancy bread, get a little fancy with it, right? Chop that up, slice that myself, you know, make the bread pieces as big or as small as I wanted to, and then have that for lunch, you know? There's always a way to upgrade or to do things better in everything, really, but I'm talking about specifically for lunch. It's what you make of it, really. What do you make of lunch? Is it important for your day, or do you think that it holds you back or makes you a little sluggish? It reminds me of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the movie by with Leo and Brad Pitt and stuff. They were in the movie, and spoilers for the movie. But in the movie, Leo's talking to like this little girl who's like an actress, and she's trying to like get ready for a scene with Leo where she's basically kidnapped or whatever. And so Leo's talking to her, and she's kind of saying like, I want to be the best I can be for the camera, for the film, for my scene, for when I get on that, you know, on the stage or do my scene, I know that I'm the best version of myself. And so she kind of says that like, if I eat lunch at like whatever the time, if I eat lunch at 12 o'clock, then by 3 p.m. I'm going to be sluggish, I'm going to be tired, I'm going to like, it's all going to settle in, I'm going to have to use the bathroom at least once, you know what I mean? So I can't eat now until after we do the scene, you know? So that way she stays sharp, she stays good, and if she can get just even a little bit better from her work by not eating that lunch, then she'll do it. And I kind of like that understanding, like that she knows it herself well enough that if I do it this way, I'll be more successful, or I'll be the best part or the best version of myself, you know? And that's kind of where the balance stays or floats around a bit. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to just pertain to lunch. I'm just saying that it's like that tends to be what most people's regular day is like. You go in early in the morning, you have lunch in between, and then you get off work and you go have dinner. You know? But I think that if it fits for you, if it works for you, you do what you got to do. There are some things that take more time to prepare. Like if you want to make a full buffet style of food or whatever, like if you want to make fried chicken for lunch as opposed to buying it, I guess that's going to take some prep. That's going to take some getting everything ready to do it. And then on top of that, you also have to make like some sort of a side or some sort of an extra something on the side. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that you can make it extravagant. You can make it above and beyond, but does that make it a good thing, you know? I don't know. Is it all that much better than going out to buy it? I think so. Depending on what you make. Like I said, you could make a nice grilled chicken or some white rice with vegetables on the side, right? Something healthy, something that you know is going to make you feel good about what it is that you're doing or how you feel throughout the day, you know? At least you know that you didn't have like a burger and then you're kind of like, ooh, I feel like maybe that's holding you back a bit or whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe I think sushi might be a good lunch meal as opposed to dinner. You know, throughout the day, like sushi is like it's pretty small. You know, you could definitely enjoy that for lunch more than dinner, I think. It's not you can eat as much as you need to because it's already cut up and like divided into the sections. So it's like if you eat like let's say you eat 6 pieces of like the sushi roll or whatever. I don't know how many come into the roll, but I'm just saying 6 just because. And then after you eat it, it's kind of like, you know what? I've had my full. I'm going to let's say you save the rest for later, right? Another whatever how many left are in the roll. You're like, "You know what? I've eaten enough for lunch. I'm just going to chill out and get to work or do what I got to do here." You know what I mean? Something like that. Now, if you want to make sushi for lunch, that's another thing. But I do think that the quality difference will be a lot better, right? As opposed to going to, like, if you go to McDonald's to get a burger for lunch, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? You want a burger, you do what you got to do. But if you're making the lunch, you're definitely going to see a quality improvement when you actually cook the patty yourself and you apply the cheese that you want on the bread and lettuce with whatever else you want on there. You know what I mean? You'll see that there's a quality difference. And if that matters to you, as I guess most people care about like what they eat and if it tastes good, then I guess when you're making lunch, you gotta put that special oomph into it. You know what I mean? You gotta give it that little extra effort so that way you can enjoy your meal. So that way you can have a great day, rest of your day, really. That's why I guess it feels a lot easier to do things when there's so many options to choose from for lunch, you know? It's easy to go to McDonald's. It's easy to go to Wendy's or Jack in the Box or whatever else is out there. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to stop by one of those places as opposed to being at home or at your job and kind of making something quick and simple but not as delicious, I guess. You know? And then when you take the time, when you take the moments to really take in that day and you say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to make the best sandwich on the best bread with the freshest vegetables and everything else that I can possibly get. You stack it all up and together and then you take a bite of it. You're like, yeah, This was worth it. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is good. Stuff like that, you know? I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I know it's about lunch, but... when you're making lunch, you just gotta... you gotta know whether or not it's worth it for you. You gotta know if it's like, do I need this? Is this going to slow me down? Is this going to pick me up? Is this going to push me forward throughout the rest of the day? Is it going to make me a little sluggish, a little tired, not as ready for dinner or capable to eat dinner, you know? I don't know. I think that lunch is one of those, it could be great, but it also could be pretty bad throughout the day. And I also saw people are like at work like steal each other's lunches. What is that? Like some lady, I don't know who she was. I think I talked about this before, but she put laxatives in her food because she felt like one of her coworkers was like stealing from her or whatever, or like taking her lunch. And so she put she put laxatives in her food. Like she mixed it all up and she put it in the fridge, and then her coworker ate it and had to like go to the bathroom repeatedly. Like, that was crazy. But lunch, man. It's one of those things where you could have anything you want and nobody bats an eye. If you have breakfast for lunch, everybody's like, ah, sweet breakfast. If you have dinner for lunch, everybody's like, great. If you have like a regular thing for lunch, I don't know, whatever, everybody's like, okay, cool. You know? So, when you're making lunch for yourself, for your friends, for your family, I feel like it's more so for special events throughout the day. Maybe a picnic or an outing or a special restaurant, or you're on vacation or you're traveling somewhere new and you want to try the local food. Great stuff. But if it's just kind of like your daily routine, or it's something that you know what, I'm feeling a little hungry. I held back during breakfast, or I didn't have a big breakfast. I had something pretty light and I'm feeling a little hungry now. Maybe, why not splurge on yourself? Why not make your lunch special? Even if you buy it, you know? So, when you're making lunch, make it what's best for you. Make it as extravagant or as intricate or crazy as you want it to be. If you want to make a full 5-course meal for yourself for lunch, you do it. No, I'm not going to stop you. Nobody's stopping you. But if you want something a little easy, if you want something that's plain and simple, something that's good but just doesn't have to be crazy, you don't have to go wild with it, you know, then I suggest a nice sandwich. And dude, what do we know about sandwiches, huh? This is another thing about lunch, is that I've talked, oh my gosh, first episode I talked about that sandwich. You know what I mean? That sandwich when you go to the pool, middle of the day, you've been swimming out there all day. Let's say you go out to the beach with your family, right? You're out there and you're coming out of the water, the salty water, or just whatever. You know what I mean? You're walking on the beach and you get over to your like little area or whatever that you have on the beach with like a blanket down or whatever. And then you make this sandwich. And when you make this sandwich, it's like everything else melts away. That sandwich could literally cure cancer. It could do anything. That sandwich could do anything. And then you have like a little nacho cheese Doritos right next to it. Oh my gosh, dude. That's lunch. That's lunch. But that's, you know, for special occasions like on the beach, you know. You decide, let's go to the beach today, you know. Stuff like that. But that sandwich, man. So, that sandwich is special. Maybe because of the day, because of the atmosphere of the beach and all of it, but you made it for lunch because you knew it was going to hit. You knew it was going to be amazing. So, that's another aspect to it. Just, you make it amazing by making the lunch special, by attaching an event to it, or attaching the lunch to it, and that makes it special too. So when you're making lunch, make it big, make it small, make it plain and simple, or big and crazy, but you make it. You make it. And I feel like that's when it's the best. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.